Hi guys, it's Laree, and today I'm going to show you how to make professional looking seams without a serger. So a little while ago, I posted on Instagram that I made like this really light sweatshirt for a friend. It was a hooded sweatshirt made out of like a light terry cloth. I made it for a friend and I finished the entire inside of it without using a serger. And it was neat, it was clean, it was beautiful on the inside and on the outside. And today I want to show you how you can do the same thing. So without further delay, here is how to make professional seams without using a serger. Okay, so the first seam that I'm going to show you is the plain seam. So I'm going to start by making just my regular stitch at 5/8 of an inch. Of course, this is the standard seam allowance for your commercial patterns, 5/8 of an inch. And this is on the wrong side of the fabric, right sides together. And guys, I'm using this hot pink fabric so that you can see, or hot pink thread, so you can see what I'm doing today. So this is your seam. This would get pressed open like this. So this would be taken to the iron and it would be pressed open. And then what you want to do from here to cover up these raw edges. Now a true plain seam is folded over on the edges by 1/8 of an inch. Here is how I normally do this, and it's so much faster for me this way. Instead of turning at an eighth of an inch, I'm just going to turn this whole allowance until I meet this edge or meet this stitch that I made. I'm not going to go past it. I'm just going to go right to it, pretty much folding this allowance in half. Okay, and come on this side. So fold the allowance in half and then stitch on the edge. 1/8 of an inch on the edge. There it is. So this is the plain seam. And I'm gonna go ahead and go give it a press, and I'll be back. So this seam is going to start with right sides together. Sewing at 5/8 of an inch. First of all, I'm going to trim this back. I'm going to fold this in half over this allowance that I just trimmed. Okay, and now this can be pressed and stitched. So right on the edge, you can top stitch this. Just be mindful of where that crease is. I'm just going to go ahead and go underneath here. And sew along the edge. there you have it. So it almost has a corded look to it, but like a filled look, and it's strong and it's going to resist fraying. It can handle a lot of stress. The seam that you actually find in jeans is a version of this flat felled. It's actually called a double felled seam. Okay, so to demonstrate how to sew on this seam binding, I'm going to use this dress. This is one of my works in progress. I'm going to leave this hot pink thread on here so you can see what I'm sewing. So this is the sleeve right here. And this is the sleeve of the dress, and I want to finish off the inside and make it nice and neat. So I'm going to pull the sleeve back through the armhole. Okay, and now I'm just left with the seam itself and the raw edges, and I'm going to take this. So this has a bit of a curve in it. This is the sleeve cap right here, and so I'm just going to follow this curve. So I'm going to start on just one side, and I'm going to open this up and open one side until the crease is exposed. Now I'm going to line that crease up with the seam that I've already stitched. Let's pin this. Oops, I lost my pin. Line this up with what I've already stitched. While I'm doing this, the needle that I have on the machine right now, guys, it's just a universal needle, all-purpose needle. I don't have anything fancy on here right now. Okay, I've done that. And now I'm going to go ahead and stitch in this crease right in the middle. All the way around, making sure not to get my fabric, the rest of the sleeve caught up in what I'm doing right here. Oh, I think I may have done that. I wasn't paying attention. Oh well. I'll fix it in a sec. So make sure you move all that fabric out of the way. You only want to sew on the seam. If you have a sleeve attachment on your sewing machine, that would be good too, so you can slip the sleeve on it. Actually, let me use mine. There. That will keep my fabric out of the way. I'm going around the sleeve cap now. let's see what I did here. I got that fabric under there caught. It's okay. Alrighty, so now that I've done that, can you see how neat that's starting to look already? So that seam in the middle, typically you would come through and you would trim all of this down. Trim it all down. Okay, so now I'm going to trim all this off. Trim it down to about 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And I'm going to go back and continue to let this fold over itself, covering up those edges. And I do like to actually pin this as I go. Okay, we'll go to about there. All right. Now I'm going to come back to the opposite side and I'm going to stitch in the ditch. That means right where I made my first stitch, I'm going to stitch on top of there again, but on the opposite side of the fabric. And I would say it's good to err on the side of the seam binding. If you do happen to go off a little bit, let it be on the side of the seam binding, not on the side of the garment. You have better chances of actually catching that fold on the opposite side if you err on the side of the seam binding. Okay. Okay. So when you've really got that stitch in the ditch, you shouldn't be able to see it on the opposite side. If you err on the side of the seam binding, if it's the same color, it's okay. But what you will have on the opposite side is this nice edge stitch. And I don't think I stitched here on this part. My stitching kind of went off onto the garment right there, so it didn't catch. Guys, this is really going to be an edge stitch. It's not going to be more than maybe 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And there it is. And it should look nice and neat all the way around. Just like that. Okay guys, so now I'm going to show you how I use bias tape. There's a few things that you could do with this. You could, around exposed necklines on the inside that don't have facings, like the picture of the sweatshirt that I just showed you, you could put the bias tape on the inside of there and stitch it down. A nice contrasting color would actually look really nice here. And then stitch, or you could use bias tape. This is one of my favorite ways to use it on the hem. So this is the sleeve hem. This is the hem of the skirt down here. If you have a lightweight fabric like this and you want it to have some stability, but you still want it to be light, using bias tape or hem tape is the way to go. Okay. So this bias tape that I made is very versatile. So I'm going to start this off by doing what I did with basically with the seam binding. Let me start underneath right here. I'm going to start this at the seam. Okay. And I'm going to open up one side, exposing the crease. And I'm going to line that edge with the edge of this garment. In this case, it's the sleeve of this dress. So you're going to start this the same way you start seam binding. Now, of course, when you make the bias strip, you can make this as thick or as thin as you would like it to be. Okay, I'm going to put my needle right down in that crease, just like before. And let me take this arm back off so that I don't stitch more than what I actually want to. Is it going to fit? Okay, so my sleeve is kind of small. That's okay. Alrighty, I'm ready to go. So I'm stitching right in that crease, matching the edge of my tape with the edge of my sleeve. Now, of course, I made this bias out of this tape out of cotton. If you really wanted this to be lightweight and kind of hidden, you can make this out of organza. Okay, and I've come to the end of the road. Alrighty, so there it is. Now trim. Trim. Now, turn this entire piece in. Now, if you were to go and iron, you can iron this open. You can also stitch this. Probably should have done this before I trimmed it, but it's all right. So I'm going to stitch this under stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the first stitch that I made. So I'm going to make an understitch. Sorry guys, I should have understitched before I trimmed, but it's all good. So I'm folding that seam allowance to one side, to the side of the bias tape, and I'm stitching away from my original stitch by 1/8 of an inch. And I'm kind of pulling the fabric to make sure it's nice and flat on that opposite side. edge stitch. Tug the fabric and the bias tape open just a little bit. If I would have gone to press this, then it would have been nice and flat, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, so that made a really nice edge stitch right along there. And now I can turn that edge stitch, keeping my bias folded, turn to the inside, press if you like, or make sure to hold this down really firm with your fingers. Maybe put a couple of pins in it. And sew along the edge. Keeping everything nice and flat as you go around. And of course, if I were going to keep this, I'd make sure that the tape was long enough and I'd connect it here. But there it is. This definitely needs a nice press to lay this down really flat. But look at that, right? Look at that. That makes it nice and neat, clean, without using a serger. And it also helps it to hold its shape really nicely too. So the last step is for this to get a nice press and to relax the fabric and give me a nice sharp edge, and there it is. Show you from the back because this is the side that's completely done. Cool. All right guys, so that's it. How to make professional seams without using a serger. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said before, I have been able to commit to a once a month schedule. So to know when I upload my next video next month, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you get notified when my video uploads. Guys, thank you so much, and I will sew with you in the next video. Bye.